watching Canal Algérie 11 o'clock news, and these are our main top stories. The President of the Republic, Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, Minister of National Defense, Abdelmajid Tebboune, offers his sincere condolences and deep sympathy to the family of the late Major General Hassan Slimane, former Deputy Commander of the 6th Military Region. As a representative of the President of the Republic, the Prime Minister Nadir Al-Arbawi attends the second day of the 19th Summit of the Non-Aligned Movement in Kampala, Uganda, which adopted the final communique and the Kampala Declaration. Confessions from a French-Moroccan journalist, bank statements revealed the Commission received in exchange of services re-rendered, particularly in information processed at BFM TV, a media outlet had already faced numerous accusations and scandals. Hello and welcome back. Following the death of the Major General Hassan Slimane, former Deputy Commander of the 6th Military Region, the President of the Republic, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Minister of National Defense, Abdelmajid Tebboune, offered today his sincere condolences and deepest sympathy to the family of the deceased and to all members of the People's National Army, praying Allah Almighty to surround the deceased with His holy mercy and welcome him in His vast paradise. To Allah we belong, and to Him we shall return. The Army General, for his part, Chief of Staff of the People's National Army, also expressed his condolences to the family of the Major General Hassan Slimane, former Deputy Commander of the 6th Military Region, who passed away last Thursday after long-term chronic disease. Condolences expressed on his behalf and on behalf of all the personnel of the armed forces of the People's National Army. The Army General reiterated his deepest sympathy to the family and to the deceased, praying Allah to grant him His holy mercy, to welcome him in His vast paradise among valiant martyrs, and to grant his family and loved ones all the courage and strength in his difficult ordeal. To Allah we belong, and to Him we shall return, concluded the message. At the VIP lounge of Houari Boumediene International Airport, the Army General Said Chengriha, Chief of Staff of the People's National Army, attended this afternoon the raising of the body of the recitation of the Fatiha verses on the soul of the late Major General Hassan Slimane, former Deputy Commander of the 6th Military Region, and this in the presence of the Army General Commander of the Republican Guard, the Secretary General of the Ministry of National Defense, the commanders of the National Gendarmerie Forces, the Commander of the 1st Military Region, of the heads of department and directors and heads of central services of Ministry of National Defense, and the General Staff of the National People's Army and members of the family of the deceased. The funeral oration was read by the General Inspector of the Information and Communication Directorate of the PNA General Staff, who praised the virtues and recalled his rich, honorable career and as senior officer of the People's National Army. Let's listen to him.
Dear deceased, your subordinates and brave brothers throughout our beloved homeland, and all members of the People's National Army who knew you and worked with you or were under your command, their hearts are filled with sadness and grief after your death. You were an honorable leader and brother who devoted his entire life to the homeland and provided precious service to Algeria and to the People's National Army.
قدمت الغالي والنفيس خدمة للجزائر وللجيش الوطني الشعبي.
On this said occasion, the Army General reiterated on his behalf and on behalf of all officers of the personnel of People's National Army his sincere condolences and deep sympathy to the family of the deceased, praying Allah to grant him his holy mercy and to bestow strength and patience to his family. The Non-Aligned Movement's 19th Summit, which takes place in Kampala in Uganda, is on its second day. It tackled crucial points related to the African issues, marked by the participants' recognition to the President of the Republic and Algeria's role in solving the African issues. Najatiyar.
The 19th Summit proceedings of the Non-Aligned Movement organized in the Uganda capital Kampala included today the adoption of the final press release of the summit and the declaration of Kampala, in which the participants reiterate their attachment to the movement principles, the second biggest international organization after the United Nations. The participants praised the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, a coordinator role in the African Union concerning the fight against terrorism and the violent extremism. They also hailed his initiative of the creation of a special African fund dedicated to the climate change disasters. In the face of the current geopolitical climate, the NAM members have restated their unmoving position and attachment to the movement principles, which the President of the Republic has stressed in his allocation read on his behalf by the Prime Minister Nadir Al-Arbawi. The non-aligned countries have also highlighted their support to the just causes, the Sahrawi and the Palestinian causes at their top. Concerning the latter, the members of this international organization have called for unanimity and to intensify efforts so that the Palestinian state obtains the status of an apparent member in the United Nations, a claim which the President of the Republic cannot stop demanding. The participants have also condemned the Zionist aggression against the Palestinian people, calling for an urgent action to stop massacres and the forced mobilization of Palestinians, all in ensuring the arrival of human aid to Gaza Strip. This summit, thus, is an opportunity to further cooperation for a global prosperity, a just and a multipolar world.
In the sidelines of his participation in the work of this summit, the non-aligned movement, the Prime Minister Nadir Al-Arbawi was received by the Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni, to whom he conveyed the greeting of the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, and his congratulations for the double presidency by Uganda of the non-aligned movement and the group of 77 plus China. The Ugandan president, for his part, instructed the Prime Minister and to convey fraternal greeting and express his esteem to the President of the Republic, granted a particular interest to cooperate with Algeria with the aim of ensuring the principle and objectives of a Charter of the United Nations prevail. The two parties also discussed bilateral relations between the two countries and means to their development. Algeria has officially denied an unfounded allegation reported by an alleged website. The Alliance of Sahel Countries falsely claimed that Algeria presented an initiative Mali during the summit of non-aligned countries held in Kampala, according to a statement by Ministry of Foreign Affairs and National Community Abroad. According to this website, Algeria includes provisions in final document of the statement related to the Peace and Reconciliation Agreement in Mali, which emerged from the Algiers Treaty. The Algerian delegation officially denies that it took such an initiative. To the statement adds that everything included in the Kampala final document, such as solution for the Malian crisis, and then adopted since the Baku ministerial meeting of non-aligned movements, and these allegations specifically concerns the non-aligned movement, and Algeria has nothing to do with this statement mentioned. The President of the Council of the Nations, Salah Kujil, received today the President of the Mauritanian National Assembly, Mohamed Bamba Meguet, who is on a 4-day visit to Algiers. The meeting was an opportunity for both parties to recall the strong historical relations between the two peoples of Maghreb countries by blood, religion, history, language and community. Ties which have been further consolidated thanks to the will of the President of the two countries, Abdelmajid Tebboune, and his Mauritanian brother, Mohamed Sheikh Al Ghazaoui. The President of the National Assembly, People's Assembly, Brahim Boughali, also received the President of the National Assembly of the Mauritanian Islamic Republic, Mohamed Bamba Miguet. On this occasion, Brahim Boughali praised the level of the fraternal relations uniting the two brotherly countries, calling for more exchanges between the two parliamentary friendship groups, which play an important role in strengthening cooperation between the two countries, specifies a press release from the lower house of parliament. On the international scene in Palestine, after more than 100 days of bombing, Gaza Strip has become a real field of ruins, with more than 24,000 martyrs and over 60,000 injured. Civilians are being arrested, humiliated and tortured. United Nations agencies denounced a chaotic situation and called for an immediate ceasefire. Yasin Hamdi.
The Zionist occupation forces perpetrated 12 massacres during the last 24 hours. More than 142 civilians were killed and 250 were injured. The north and the south of Gaza, especially Khan Yunis, were intensively bombed. After more than 100 days of massive attacks, the Palestinian enclave became a vast cemetery. The Palestinians don't die only from bombs, but also from famine and terrible living conditions imposed by the Zionist entity that acts with total impunity. According to UNICEF, 20,000 children were born in these terrible conditions since the beginning of the attacks. Most of them are in danger of death because of the situation that's getting worse. Caesarean surgeries were performed without anesthesia, and most of the women couldn't give birth to their stillborn babies because of the lack of medical material. According to a report published today by UN Women, 2 mothers are killed every hour in Gaza, and among the 24,620 Palestinians murdered, 70% of them were women and children. At least 3,000 women became widows and 10,000 children lost their fathers. The Zionist occupation forces arrested thousands of Palestinians and kept them in custody in terrible conditions for 30 to 55 days in unknown places. These civilians were blindfolded, humiliated and tortured. The World Health Organization alerted about the inhuman living conditions. 1.9 million of people, which represents 85% of the population of Gaza, were displaced. The Gazans are living in total insecurity. The United Nations agencies are calling for an immediate ceasefire.
Investigators discovered large-scale financial transfer on the BFM TV journalist Rashid Barki's banking identity statement in Morocco. These revelations are part of context where Morocco has intensified its intelligence and espionage activities in Europe since its normalization with the Zionist entity. More details with Rani Al-Bahri.
The Franco-Moroccan journalist Rashid Mbarki confesses after being held in police custody. Investigators who discovered the large-scale financial transfers on his bank identity statement in Morocco. Considerable sums of 20,000 euros were regularly paid to him. In return, he was called upon to pronounce Moroccan Sahara at each reference to Western Sahara, a shocking turnaround, since he now admits to having been paid to guide his subjects on BFM TV. These late confessions undermine his previous statements, shocking the BFM TV affair already shaken by suspicions of interference and manipulation. Disturbing links between this scandal and previous affairs, notably Pegasus and Morocco Gate, underline the systematic use of blackmail and corruption by the Moroccan secret services to influence political and diplomatic issues. These revelations are part of a context where Morocco has intensified its intelligence and espionage activities in Europe since its normalization with the Zionist entity. The Pegasus scandal revealed a vast surveillance operation targeting heads of state and European officials, also highlighting the Morocco Gate affair involving corrupt members of the European Parliament. Moroccan intelligence services have recently been accused of espionage in Belgium and Spain respectively, targeting judges investigating the Morocco Gate and officials of the Polisario Front. Morocco's spy scandals have raised concerns about privacy, security, and the political influence that the Makhzen could exert. Revelation that continue to tarnish the reputation of the Makhzen, known for its illegal practices.
The Sahrawi human rights activist Sultana Khaya affirmed that a self-determination referendum remains the only solution to solve the Sahrawi cause. She also supports the decision of the Polisario Front to resume the armed fight for the liberation of the Sahrawi people. Yasin Hamdi.
In a recent interview given to the Italian newspaper Il Manifesto, Sultana Khaya, human rights activist and president of the Sahrawi Human Rights Defense League, expressed her support to the decision of the Polisario Front to defend its people by resuming the armed fight for the liberation of the Sahrawi people, estimating that the solution exists since many years and was even adopted by the United Nations, a self-determination referendum in accordance with the UN resolutions. Sultana Khaya denounced the violence and the arrestations perpetrated by the Makhzen in the occupied territories since the resumption of the armed fight in 2020. She also highlighted the travel restrictions and the ban on access to international organizations. The Sahrawi activist also denounced the increase in repression in the occupied territories, forcing the Sahrawi people to choose between protests and jail or flee to the Canary Islands and risk their lives. Khaya also talked about the Sahrawi political prisoners kept in inhuman custody conditions in the Moroccan prisons, in addition to physical and psychological torture and the lack of medical care. She called the international community to intervene and put an end to this deplorable situation. Sultana Khaya hailed the fundamental role of the Sahrawi women in the resistance against the occupation and highlighted their perseverance despite the daily brutal repression.
Sports now, and with the AFCON tournament held in Côte d'Ivoire, Algeria played today against Burkina Faso. Baghdad Bounedjah, crucial header that saved Algeria, securing a 2-2 draw. That match unfolded with intensity and excitement, fueled by the contribution of players like Amoura and Ounes. Manal Mafa with the details.
Among thousands of fans and viewers after a suspenseful match.
And with that, we come to the end of our edition. Thanks for watching us. Stay tuned on Canal Algérie. Bye-bye for now.